So the reason that Reika Basu was writing about Lucas's podcast is because she saw him speak at the Johnston School Board meeting on what day was that? On the 7th, on March 7th. So yeah, he and his friends are trying to start a TP USA chapter at their high school, and he spoke in favor of that idea at the school board meeting, and I can share with you some of his remarks. So there's a video. I'll warn you that the audio is always out of sync on these school board websites, and I don't know why. They use the shittiest streaming software ever, I guess. But so this, to set this up a little bit, I think there are 2 student representatives on the school board. So one of the students asks Lucas some stuff about stuff she heard on his podcast. So he gets obviously he's trying to present himself as a lot more reasonable in this scenario than he does on his podcast.
I think the thing is that you're still affiliated with that group, and you're still affiliated with the mission and the things that they promote. And I totally agree that there are facets of it that make sense. Like, if you guys like talking about free market and capitalism, all that kind of thing, I think you completely have the right to talk about those things and to educate each other. But I think it gets a little bit muddy when you talk about the reputation that the organization has. And I know people have talked to you, and it's clear that you don't agree with every single thing that they do, and I get that. So how are you going to differentiate between the good things that Turning Point USA promotes and the things that maybe tarnishes its reputation, and that might be difficult for us to have at the high school?
100%. Well, again, that will come into the being independently student-run.
That's
right?
not what I imagined
And
at
I
all.
will go back on what I just said. Every single chapter is going to be different on a Turning Point, on a national level. Every single one's going to be different. Every school is going to have the different things. On the basis of the national organization, like I said, it'd be unfair to hold every single national organization to the standards that happened, things that have happened 10, 15 years ago. And Turning Point USA is a great way for students like myself to be able to voice their opinions. And it's just plain and simple. I've been going to school here for 13 years. I'm assuming you as well. You've been all 13 years, so you know. Being a conservative student at Johnston's hard. It's hard. You don't get a voice. You don't. You have to sit in silence. You don't get a voice. And if you do voice your opinion, you get in trouble.
Oh my fucking God,
that's
dude.
And I've seen that. That's my biggest point. Again, I'm not vulgar towards that. I accept that. That's life.
Towards that.
But that's why we need Turning Point USA at Johnston, and that's where we will kind of be different, if you will, from the national organization.
Why is it that you think that an organization, like say you have a free market club or something, why is it that you think that wouldn't provide as much of a space for you to have that kind of open dialogue?
Yeah, because that's only a free market. That's only a free market club. That's only for one thing.
Well, that was just.
Yeah, no, I understand. No, you're good. Now I understand what you mean. But that's a very. I think that's a vague club, right? Turning Point USA is we're open to everything.
But my point is that what makes a club independently run, independent from any organization that might be hurtful to others? Why is an independent organization any less productive and safe and what you're looking for than an organization that is backed by a national organization that a lot of people have problems with? There are not.
I think
this many
he's
people in this
definitely
room
on
because
like
Turning
Adderall
Point
or
USA
something.
does not have a
He's one of the
history
ADHD
of hurting
kids.
people and of spreading ideas that are very much seen as hateful.
I think the same can be said for some of the clubs that have been mentioned today. You know what I'm saying?
I would disagree with that.
Well, I mean, we can, and that's fine. We can disagree. That's open dialogue. That's one thing we're going to do at Turning Point, right? That's literally.
Yeah, the marketplace
you are
of
literally
ideas,
proving my point for me right now.
Yep.
Lucas.
Gotcha.
Can I ask you a question?
You got it.
Research any?
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you guys know about
Rat
Turning
sprung.
Point USA? Like, what have you seen TP USA do? What is their purpose?
Cry and wear diapers.
Yeah, it's a bunch of old conservative rich donors trying to make conservatism seem like edgy and cool to young people. It's kind of a saving throw in the fucking culture war is kind of what I've always seen it as,
Yeah. I mean, that seems to be the whole thing is like they make edgy memes to appeal to young shitheads and get them politically
like
involved.
Stock photos of people going like this.
Free Market Club isn't gonna cut it for this guy because it's not in your face enough. It's not triggering enough to the libs, considering the libs all love the free market also.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to sell it, or they collectively are trying to sell it in this meeting as like not that at all. Like, oh no, we're not trying to piss people off. We're not trying to bother anybody. We just want to have a club where we can talk openly about issues and ideologies. But it's like, no, the whole purpose of TPUSA
your club is hateful.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
the tables have turned.
This organization is like Coke money and Charlie Kirk just intentionally triggering people. That's the purpose.
Yep.
And it says in the article, and it came up in the meeting also, that a group of parents encouraged Lucas and one other kid to try to start this group. So it's not just like, just a couple high school kids just thought of this idea on their own. Like, it is adults trying to get their shit into the school.
Yeah, I was wondering where the parents come into this, because there's no way there wasn't some involvement there.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the high school. Now, does this serve sort of a wealthier area of the city? Okay, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah. Johnston's like a rich suburb, right?
It's a suburb of the
That's
Boise,
weird.
so.
I wouldn't have ever thought that with the way this kid fucking looks and behaves, and what do his parents do for a living, and how much of this
I like that
comes
he's
from them.
filibustering his fucking meeting
school board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been taught well.
Yeah.
First, I agree with you. Yes.
However, that's like Jordan Peterson shit. Like, that's how Jordan Peterson would like back people into a fucking corner.
It's what they call it, the Gish Gallop.
Yes, that's what it is.
And I gotta give props to the girl who was like pressing him on this stuff and like questioning, why do you really want to do this? Like that's very I'm glad someone was there to do that. He also mentions a few times at this meeting a representative of TPUSA named Jordan, who was like helping them get this chapter off the ground. So TPUSA has like a paid whatever, like helping high school students start chapters, which is pretty alarming. Like, this is someone not affiliated with the school district or anything. This is just like a paid Turning Point person who like contacts high schoolers to help them do this.
Yep. It's almost like some sort of indoctrination that they accuse leftist / liberal groups of doing.
Right, yeah.
In schools.
Yeah, which, the legislature is big on that right now, obviously. All right, so his podcast actually didn't come up in that last clip I showed you, but this clip I'm going to show you now is totally about his podcast. And
all right.
Yeah, I just...
Showtime.
I want you to hear like some of the justifications he gives for like the content that his fellow student heard.
One more thing I had. So I've listened to your podcasts. I know that you're a really well-researched individual. You have a lot to say. You have a lot but there is a lot that I have heard from your podcasts, at least that I think could be seen as very hateful. And I just want to ask, how are you going to make sure that your opinions do not kind of come in and influence that of others? How are you going to make sure that those opinions that, from my observations, would not fall under the accepted guidelines? How are you going to ensure that does not pervade your club?
Well, being a media what's the right word? Content creator. We'll say it like this. I'm sponsored by Spotify, and every single one of my episodes goes through Spotify.
I'm sponsored by Spotify.
Yeah. They
sponsored by Spotify. He got the Joe
So if there's
Rogan
something that
deal.
shouldn't be said, it's always edited out. And there really never is something that shouldn't be said. And my
100 million.
opinions are my own. They're not Turning Point USA's.
All right, let me play that
What's
again.
the right word? Content creator. We'll say it like this. I'm sponsored by Spotify, and every single one of my episodes goes through Spotify. Every single one
Sponsored
of them.
by Spotify.
Hierarchies of Spotify.
Oh, yeah.
They edit my audio there. So if there's something that shouldn't be said, it's always edited out. And there really never is something that shouldn't be said. And my opinions are my own.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
not Turning Point
Yeah.
USA's.
So when he says his podcast
Are you
is
suggesting that there's shit that's worse that didn't make the
Yeah,
episode,
yeah.
or what?
yeah, because I mean we've heard clips from that episode today where he says a slur multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times. Yeah.
When he says his podcast is sponsored by Spotify, what he means is he hosts the podcast on Anchor.fm, which is owned by Spotify. Like Spotify, like it's free. They don't take like an active role in producing Anchor podcasts.
Right.
No one at Spotify has ever heard anything that he's made. Like that's complete bullshit.